Hey guys, it's Simon and welcome back to the Quilly crawler video log number 4. What changed since last week? I think this is the most interesting part at the beginning of the tutorial. So what I did this week, as mentioned last week, I introduced now the map support with tiled. So I can now currently load a map. I can already pass the collision stuff. So as you see here, you cannot go outside of the walls or inside the wall, so that's already working. It's possible to have a foreground layer so that walls are drawn in front of the player, but it's also possible to have a background layer so they are behind that. And yeah, we can create the entities out of the map. Also the chest, for example, gets created out of the map. It has the same behavior as before, and the animation tiles are working. So this is the main stuff that happened so far. How does it look like? So when you create something in tiled currently, I made it like this, that you can have any amount of layers. Also the naming currently does not matter at all. There I want to have a different approach. So what you can do for the normal tile layer, you can define a set coordinate. If it's greater than 0, then it will be treated as a foreground layer, so then it's drawn after the entities are rendered. And if it has no set value or a set value smaller or equal to 0, then it will be drawn behind the entities, and therefore it will be the background. But the name of the layer does not matter. It's really just this set index or set property of the layer that you can define. Similar to the collision layer, let me show you that one as well. So there you can define on any specific object layer. It could be multiple ones. That's really up then to the user how he wants to work. There you can define a collision layer property, and if the checkbox is ticked, then it will be treated as a collision layer. And what the system will automatically do, it will then create a box2D body. There I optimized it to previous games, so it's really only one static body with multiple shapes. So in my case, it has then 2 shapes. It has this rectangle here. That's actually, I think, also a polygon, and this outer line here, which covers the entire map. What I wanted to do previously to also show you that, I wanted to use the, how is it called, collision editor, so that for every tile here I define what kind of collision it could have and then read that. But I would end up actually then with a lot of different bodies, because you can imagine for every piece of wall that I have here, that would be a body, that would be a body, that would be a body. So in the end, actually every tile in the end would be at least one body then for the collision. And I think this is not quite performant when it comes to the collision handling with box2D. Then I thought if that could maybe be optimized, because if there would be 2 tiles next to each other, then I could maybe combine them together and make only one body out of it. But also there, it could be optimized then, yes, of course, but still I would end up with a lot of different bodies, because even if I combine adjacent tiles, let's say like this one or this one, it would reduce the amount of shapes that I need. But I think it's not that easy to come up with a solution like that. And still I would end up with more collision bodies than I would need. So that's why for the time being I use a similar approach than in my previous games. So you simply draw the collision layer. This is then the optimized version, because then you, like in my case, it's now only one shape for the entire wall here. And otherwise I would need to write an algorithm which optimizes the creation of that. Would be actually cool, so would be interesting to have that, but I could imagine that this really takes quite some time to work properly, so I did not go for that approach for the time being. Yeah, other than that, so we create entities also in the map, so every entity has an ID. This is the ID of the entity configuration that I showed last time, so the chest, the big demon, and the player. And now I also have rewritten that a little bit with the configuration, DSL and handling. I'm not sure if I stick to that approach that I have right now, but before it was a little bit tricky because it was not easily possible to override the new entity method of the entity configurations class, and therefore adding custom properties and custom configuration could not be done in a single place, and it had to be done every time where you call the new entity method from outside. So I changed here the approach a little bit. Now the game or any user actually can then define their own custom entity configurations, enhance here the new entity function with some custom coding. And with that, it was now possible that in the map, really, I only need to add the ID, and then the system itself already takes care of everything. So it correctly creates the player with the collision sensor radius. Then the chest will get created with the collectible stuff. I can open it, and yeah, so that's working quite well. Also, the LibGDX version was released, so the get or put method that I had before in my comments project for collections, this is now part of LibGDX. I made a contribution at the beginning of this week, and now the 1.9.14b1 version is available. And I'm thinking of maybe adding in a few other extension functions for tiled handling. But yeah, let's see what I can come up with, because currently the code is not that nice, I would say. It definitely requires some refactoring, and I need to think again how people can or should use then the library. So coming to the map part, so how did I implement currently the map handling? It's again part of the Commons project, because I think at the moment this is really a general solution that everyone could use. What we have is a map listener. So in case you need to react on map changes, you can have a class with a map listener, then you override the onMap change method. There you get a map service. I explained that in a moment. And also the current map that was loaded or set by the user. Then there is an abstract map service, which is just a generic class which takes care of the listener. So it has the add map listener, remove map listener, and what else does it have? Exactly. Every map service also comes automatically with a map renderer. Since we have mainly support for 2D games, it's always an orthogonal tiled map renderer. And this will be added to the asset storage automatically, so that when the game gets disposed, then also this map renderer gets disposed. So this is the basic stuff of every map service that is out there. And currently every map service implementation offers then a method to set a map and 3 methods for the rendering. So to set the view bound, render the background, the foreground. And this method here, I'm not sure yet if it's needed or not. Currently I don't use it. That's what I need to think more about. And the idea is now of a map service that we get then implementations for the different map editors out there. Currently, I always use the tiled editor. That's why there is already a tiled map service available. This one is also currently just a quick and dirt implementation. But as you can see, so it extends the map service. So it's already takes care of the renderer, which is here the orthogonal tiled map renderer. It passes in the asset storage, so we have all the listener stuff. And what it's doing, so when you set the map, then currently if there is already a map available, it will unload the map. So we will always only have one map in our memory. That's also different to the approach that I had in other games. Normally I loaded all the tiled maps at the beginning of the game and then simply set them. Here I use a different approach. So every time you change the map, the current map gets unloaded with also the entities then in the future. And then the new map is loaded. And if the log level is debugged, there is also a time measurement so that you can a little bit control how long does it take to load the map. Because if it takes, I don't know, a minute or more, you don't want to have a black screen for the player a minute long, then you most likely should introduce a loading screen or something. But in my case at the moment, as you see here, it's only 21 milliseconds. So even if it would go up to a second, I think that's totally acceptable. So this is currently fine. And then there is some parsing in it. And that one we saw before. So for the rendering, I simply check what are the background or the foreground layers, and then the overruled methods that we saw before. So the view bounds, the render background and render foreground, are then taking care to visualize the map on the screen. And in addition to that, currently, but really, again, quick and dirt implementation, don't look at that at the moment in detail. I create this collision body, as mentioned, really just one entity. And for all the different shapes in the tiled map, I simply add then a shape to the body. So currently a chain shape, because that one is the best solution, in my opinion, when it comes to collision, to avoid the ghost vertices. And for other object layers there, I simply create entities with the entity configuration new entity method, where I pass in then the ID. So currently, again, not nice, because if the ID is missing, that would not work and so on. So this one needs to be made more prettier than next week. Yeah, but that's it for this week. So did not have a lot of time this week. I think it was, again, maybe 5 hours that I spent on the project, because today I was skiing, snowboarding, was a very beautiful day. Friday I met some friends and drink a little bit too much, so Saturday was a wasted day for me, could not work on the project. But yeah, I want to work on the project again next week and optimize or finalize then also the entity configuration and the tiled map support. And yeah, currently I'm pretty happy. One thing that I did not mention yet, so first of all, what I notice when I move around the player, it looks a little bit like the graphic is jumping left and right. So it's not a clean graphic. I need to look into that, why it's jittering a little bit. Not sure why. And also what I want to do is with the camera. So currently, actually, the map would end here. So this would be the bottom left corner. And as you can see, the map goes outside of that. And I'm not sure if I want to keep it like that, or if the camera only moves to the 0 coordinate here, so that it gets stuck here on the left side, and on the right side of the map, maybe it should get stuck here on the right side, or stop moving there, so that as a player, you know a little bit what are the boundaries of the map. This is something, a minor addition that I want to do. Okay, but that's it. Enough talking for today. Thanks for watching again. Have a nice Sunday, and bye-bye.